Coming up on a Skin Depth Convo.
I have a lot of patients that started GLP and they're excited about the weight loss, but then you get skin sagging, your face gets thinner. So you really want to focus on doing things preemptively. Don't wait until you've lost the weight. When we go see a provider because we're thinned or we have saggy skin, we've already lost a lot of collagen. And we've already lost a lot of those fibroblasts that we could have sent the signal to lay down more collagen.
This is a show focused on educating and inspiring all those in the skincare and beauty industry. But it is also a show for those looking to improve themselves from the inside out. In each episode, we explore the latest trends, breakthrough technologies, and get expert insights within the dynamic world of skincare and beauty. If you're looking to further your beauty education and nurture your passion, you're in the right place. Renowned experts and hosts Metaxia Dalikas and Francine Kagarakis aim to educate and inspire through their own experiences and are dedicated to enlightening and empowering enthusiasts and professionals in the realm of skincare and beauty. Join the conversation and the fun with a Skin Depth Convo. Welcome to Skin Depth Convo. I'm Anna Kagarakis. Today we're diving into a powerful conversation about women's health, regenerative aesthetics, and building confidence from the inside out. Plus, we'll discuss how medi-spas are becoming a bridge between physicians and clients. Our guest is Dr. Chantal Lunderville, a physician trained at UCLA and UCSF who has taken a bold, holistic approach to aesthetics and wellness. As a medical director, speaker, and founder of her own aesthetic practice, she's redefining what it means to age confidently and beautifully at every stage of life. And she's the host of the podcast, Spilling the Medical Tea with Dr. C. As always, we have our expert host, part of the founders of Lyra Clinical, Metaxia Dalikas and Francine Kagarakis on call today. But also, let's welcome in Dr. C, Dr. Chantal Lunderville. Thank you for joining us, Dr. C.
My pleasure. We love talking about the convergence of skin, hormones, women's health. So thank you, ladies, for leading the charge in so many ways.
Well, this is an exciting time because I'm always very, very interested in the holistic side. And so the fact that we're able to discuss traditional versus holistic approaches to aesthetics is huge for me because I do believe it's from the inside out. And to be able to have somebody like you who has a practice that really discusses this is great for us to be bringing up and letting people understand how both are so very important.
And for me, I just wanted to see your input as far as the bridge between beauty and medical aesthetics. You are such an advocate to this industry right now, and I would love to have your explanation on how you see this bridge happening and where is it going?
Yes, we'll dive into all of that. I think whether you're an esthetician, a nurse, a patient, there's just so much to learn about where we are right now and how to advocate for yourself and your patients.
Yeah, well, let's also get to know you too and your background as well. As I said in the introduction, you're academically trained at UCLA and UCSF, but what was your focus and where did you start in the industry?
I started very academic. I followed all the rules. And I think you have to learn the rules in order to transcend and kind of build something new. I went to UCLA and UCSF and I majored in ethnic studies actually in undergrad. And then I went to medical school and I also got my degree in public policy, my master's at UCLA. And then after that, I went to UCSF for actually family medicine. And I was in a fellowship, a women's health fellowship. So my whole goal was actually to advocate for women's rights at the WHO in Geneva. That was like my long-term vision. And I was in a fellowship where they were going to help me do that. But unfortunately, I felt incredibly burned out, depressed, overworked. And I think this is a really common story that a lot of people feel, hey, I followed the traditional path. I really went in it to help people. At what cost to myself and my well-being? So in 2018, I was starting fellowship and I just started to feel that it wasn't actually aligning with my life and how I could really take care of patients. I mean, I don't know if anyone's gone through this journey before where they go into work and although they love their job, they don't feel like they're actually bringing 100% to their patients because they're just so exhausted, burned out, they can barely find time to keep up with all the demands. So I actually went to my program director and I said, I really am thankful that you accepted me into this fellowship and all the mentoring, but I think I need to leave and do something else. And so they were pretty understanding, I'd say, for the most part. And then I left. I actually started working as a per diem doctor all around the Bay Area. And then I started concierge aesthetics. I started to do Botox and filler in women's homes and parties. And I didn't know it at the time, but this was really my phase of getting to know my clients really well. Because in healthcare and medicine, you're learning diagnosis and treatment. But when you enter the business world, even though you're still taking care of people, you really have to listen to your clients even more. What is she really not getting from her either other Botox provider or her women's health clinic? And then she's telling me all of this. It was a lot easier because I was spending more time with them. I was in their homes. And so that really laid the groundwork for what would later turn into my own medical spa and then being medical director to help other nurses understand how to create businesses of impact that are set up to grow with the client experience at the very center.
You brought up something, when you go home to home parties for Botox, what should people look for? Because sometimes you hear some stories that are positive and negative. Can you tell us what a consumer should look for if they're going to go to a Botox party?
Oh, I love this. I'll keep it simple. I'll talk about 3 things. The first is you want to make sure you are going to a licensed credited provider. So you can always look up anyone's license on the state medical board. So whether they're a nurse, you can look them up on the nursing board, or if they're a doctor, the medical board. It's all public. There are a lot of reports of unlicensed providers doing treatments. So you would think this is so basic, but if I was a consumer, I would absolutely look up my provider's license. And a quick Google search should confirm kind of where they went to school. It should be on their website. And then 2, I would make sure that they have a medical director. You can ask them. Anyone needs to be able to say, if you were to call the front desk or ask the provider, who's your medical director on file? They should be able to provide you with that, because a lot of them are acting without doctors. And so who are you going to call if something goes wrong, especially in the home? And then 3, I would ask them where they trained, and in terms of like their Botox training, how often they train, and look up their website. Really basic things like that, but you would be surprised how much that actually would protect you.
That makes sense.
Very much.
That makes complete sense. And then, you talked about being a medical director. What are some important steps to become medical director and actually start your own aesthetic practice or med spa as a physician?
Oh my goodness. There's so much that's gone into it. I'm sure, ladies, when you founded your skincare company, you didn't know what you didn't know. And you had an idea of what you were doing. And then, 1, 3, 5 years down the line, you're like, wow, I had no idea 98% of this. And, you just learn by doing. So it's like any other business in that way. I would definitely recommend getting either a consultant or a mentor to help you, because it is a business where you need to make sure you understand your consumer's core needs. Accounting, how to, cover your bills and make some type of profit. But then the third part is it's not a regular business. It's a medical corporation. So I think that's where a lot of people trip up, is they're like, oh, I've run businesses before, I can set up a medical spa. In the state of California, you have to set up a medical corporation. So a C Corp, and your medical director has to be a majority shareholder of your primary medical corporation. So there's no like LegalZoom. There's no, using a contract attorney who doesn't know medical compliance. So even just the corporate structure when you get started is very unique, and I recommend working with a consultant like myself, as well as a very experienced medical spa attorney. So that would be kind of the number one, and then work with a CPA who understands the flow of money from the corporation, because everything you pay for that's medical has to come out of that professional medical corporation. And then if you have a management services organization that helps to manage the administrative tasks, then you have to flow money there to pay yourself if you're not the doctor. So that in itself is a very tricky setup that I help my doctors navigate, or my nurses and my medical directors navigate.
So the bridge that you're talking about, it is something that you have to be really very aware of, the business side of it, the legal side of it. And beauty all of a sudden has become very popular. Social media has opened up the channels to getting services, but having the services done by a professional who's licensed and they can verify, I think, is the most important part of this bridge building, I would say.
Yes. And I think a lot of us focus on our relationship with our clients, which is perfect. It's amazing. But the best business owners and injectors, estheticians also focus on their network of other providers. Because if there's an esthetician who treats acne really well and she's treated my acne, but now I have acne scars, how does that esthetician act as a bridge to then find me the best laser provider in the area who won't, one, steal the patient and, will two, work collaboratively, and three, provide the same on-brand level of care as you would and take care of the patient as you would. So I think we're just in an era of collaboration, and there's just so much data every day that comes out. I know in the skincare industry, same thing. There's new celebrity brands every day. There's new studies. There's new things from other countries. So for providers to stay competitive in a competitive industry like the medical spa, we need to collaborate. I think that's part of our value add for patients.
I think for me, though, the aesthetic market, the epidermis is for us primarily the estheticians who work with it. But it's when we work together with the aesthetic market and the beauty market and the medical market, what you're doing is a full circle, because the canvas is something that has to also be brighter, smoother, more hydrated. And all these things are definitely dermal and epidermal. They both matter. So, you get a laser, but you definitely need to have the pre and post care. You need to understand, the way the skin works. And I think skincare has gotten more advanced because of that. We understand there's functions that go on in the epidermis and definitely in the dermis. And so I think as an industry, we're getting better and better every day. And you are definitely an example of teaching it the right way, understanding it is a business, but it also is a beauty business. And the skin is definitely always moving, and so you got to be, current with what's going on. So
True.
I think your education is so valuable for the aesthetic market because of what you're saying.
But what you said about also acne, somebody has acne, they go to their esthetician, they get their treatments, or even their dermatologist, but then they go to laser, and there's different steps. A lot of people skip the steps. They feel that they have to go to the laser first. Sometimes they have to understand that taking care, as Metaxia was saying, the canvas, taking care of the skin, you're always going to get better results when you deal with it in the beginning. So you take care of the skin so it can tolerate whatever treatment that you're going to perform. So it makes a huge difference to begin and end with the skin.
I couldn't agree more. And honestly, I didn't even really learn that in school. I learned it after training when I was really working with a lot of estheticians, because in medical school and residency, we did learn about laser technology. We learned about acne treatment, but it was mainly with antibiotics. And the treatments that we learn in school for acne, rosacea, all these things, they just completely destroy the barrier. And I had no idea. Even when I talk to a lot of my colleagues who are dermatologists, their concern is treat the condition that we've identified. But the topic of a barrier and how even just by restoring the barrier, you can resolve a lot of issues, even within acne, even within rosacea. And I was really estheticians that taught me that. So after I worked with a lot of estheticians and I had nurses coming to me wanting to open a medical spa, I said, yes, I'll help you build your medical spa, but I also want to make sure that you're getting esthetician-driven education, because people go to a medical spa and they get a laser by a nurse who may not have any training in even retail skincare, even her basic foundations of skin. Some of these nurses are coming from psychiatry, they're coming from med surge, so they know how to do it. They know how to treat an ulcer, a decubitus ulcer, but I ask them about like an anti-aging routine and they don't know. And consumers have no idea. They think, oh, a nurse must know everything, a doctor must know everything. So that's one of my biggest platforms, is we actually don't know all of that coming out of school. And that's why we need to really focus on barrier and kind of that esthetician training as we get into the medical spa space.
I think you've learned more by leaving school and understanding there was more to learn. And I think it's so important to understand that it's not a diploma, it's really that practice. You were at AmSpa, you're walking, you're learning, you're teaching. It's constantly, it's a movement. And I think that's what's really nice to understand, is that we are always learning better techniques. We're learning better as far as to the industry in a whole. So, seeing you going to these, AmSpa conferences was really nice, because the events, you're definitely learning and sharing that to the doctors and sharing that to the nurses that really don't know, because like they're coming from many different fields. So that's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just empowering that everyone has a place in the industry. Estheticians, nurses, derms, plastic, family medicine. Because now I love the paradigm change that we're really focusing on how skin is a part of our overall health. It's not just treating cosmetically. It's really how do we ensure that hormones are in check, hydration, barrier, in addition to all the injectables. We've really moved away from like the just focusing on filler.
I love the fact that you're right. We were talking about the collaboration factor and how we need to bring everything in because it's all about overall health. And I know, like you said, hormone therapy is a big part of women's health. I didn't know Francine kind of want to touch upon that.
Oh, that's a big one, because the perception of hormone therapy. Do most people accept it? Most people, do they understand it? How important is it in the practice to understand how we address it to women? What are your thoughts on that?
In the past, I was trained very conservatively, and most doctors kind of that came up during my time and even up until now and are still being trained this way. And now the tide is turning, but we were very anti-hormones in general because of the Women's Health Initiative, the study that came out. And recently now there's been more studies on those results as well as post-clinical studies that have shown some mortality benefit for certain patients. And so we're kind of creating a more nuanced conversation about who hormones can benefit. And I'm by no means pushing hormones, but I think now we have a more balanced conversation around there is benefit. It's not as harmful as we thought. I've recently, kind of over the past 3 years, changed my stance on it from going from very anti-hormone to being a lot more balanced. I still think a lot of doctors hate it, and there's still a lot of backlash. And, I think we're at a really interesting time because when I was being trained, we were pushing birth control, but we were telling people by no means, absolutely not, hormone replacement therapy is a last resort. And now there's a whole backlash to hormone birth control, like pills and all of that. And women are a lot more embracing, especially the Gen Z, they're embracing rhythm method and these things that I know my mom, would tell me about. So it's kind of like a return to the more like natural ways. And then now people are more into the hormone therapy for menopause. So I think we're just trying to keep up culturally while also trying to remain safe. It's very interesting as a provider.
That is true. But you also do a lot of traditional and holistic approaches to aesthetics. How do you feel that they work together?
When I started my medical spa, I remember we would do Botox, filler, microneedling. But for the most part, what my patients and I talked about was like, how are you doing in life with your kids moving out, with your divorce, with the loss of a parent? Like, for the most part, that's what we talked about. And a lot of it would be around and I think it's just my family medicine background too. I was just very invested in it. How can we get you to live a better life? Is that more energy? Is that a better sex life? Is that like, what are we going to do to optimize more than just your Botox? What are we going to talk about? And to me, that's always been in the family medicine paradigm. Nothing is off limits. So now in aesthetics, I think because women have really, really been drawn into aesthetics, the stigma is, kind of gone away in a lot of cities. And now women are really having these conversations about, I don't feel great, or maybe I think something's wrong, but I don't know, but my doctor said everything's fine and they only saw me in 15 minutes. So I think this kind of common problem that we've all experienced with modern healthcare, and now that a lot of us are now being seen in medical spas regularly, it's just kind of migrated a lot of the primary care concerns to the aesthetic space. And so a lot of those things are hormones. They are holistic care, because we don't want to go to 10 different people to get something done. If we say, oh, I'm feeling like, low sex drive, low energy, and I've talked about like I can maybe see it in my face as well. What other labs can we do? And so I think it's the timing of it, but also just how our skin is so much related to how we feel inside that really nothing is off limits anymore in aesthetics.
Oh, that's a big one. What you said, it shows up on your skin and your face. It really does tell you what's going on. when you're more dehydrated as you're getting older, and you're seeing elasticity going away and you're getting saggier skin, it all makes a difference. So we can work on it for many different ways. In Medi-spas, you can do so many different treatments and so many different things. We could address it and making them feel better, making women feel a lot better, and men. Just making us feel a lot better inside and out makes a huge difference.
The key thing that I heard from Dr. C is she's invested. When you're invested in your profession, you're invested to give more and to listen to more and pay attention. Every little thing matters, and I think that's really important. And this is where I think the Medi-spas are changing and becoming where you're saying it is more of the therapeutic. And beauty comes from inside out. We think it's just that quick fix that's going to make you feel better, but it really is inside out also. So it's important that we understand that it's not a quick fix. It's an ongoing, feel good kind of a thing, and keeping the youthful condition of our skin, but also youthful condition of inside, you know. And when you feel good, it shows in your skin.
But don't feel guilty that you want to look good. That's the key. A lot of women feel, you know, maybe I don't need to do this. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. When you look good, you make yourself feel better. So it's positive.
So true. I always remember I had a patient, I think it was my second year in business, and I just always remember her. She never would have gotten filler, except her cousin brought her to one of our events, and we did a little bit of cheek filler. And I just remember her cousin told me later, yes, she asked for a raise because she felt so much better about her face. Cool. She was going through a divorce, and she actually was able to kind of let it go. It was really like she was really fixated on her divorce, and she was able to sort of step into this new chapter because she felt hope again. And I was like, off of cheek filler, I love this. I love it because it's for most women that have a career, children, they are taking care of their aging parents, they're getting older. There's so few times that we're able to just do something for us without guilt, spend money or just spend time on ourselves. So in the medical spa, oftentimes that's their only time that they get.
Exactly. And, you know, like you said, that's a very imperative time too, when you're talking about like children leaving, the parents that you're taking care of. A lot of that is happening, obviously, for a lot of women during menopause, and you're seeing those fluctuating hormone levels that we've discussed. So what should women in their 40s and 50s, and especially those who are going through menopause, you know, what should they do to help them with their skin? You're talking about some of the stuff too, like the things to help you make you feel good inside, but what are other little things that they could do every day?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, I think one of the number one transitions that women experience in their skin when they go through menopause is that their barrier is just so much more open. Their skin starts to get a lot thinner. And so one of the best things you can do is actually just simplify your skincare routine. A lot of things that you used your whole life might irritate you. And this can be very confusing for a lot of women because they're like, I've always used this. It's always made my skin great. But now I'm either getting redness, dryness, irritation. And so you really kind of need to switch gears into a more simplified regimen, something with extra barrier. So ceramides, lipids, something that has a lot more, that's going to mimic kind of your cellular membrane. So if you aren't already working with an esthetician, this is a wonderful time to get in the care of someone that can go on a little skin journey with you, try new products that will give you soothing and calming rather than just throwing the typical anti-aging regimen on you. I think this is probably one of the biggest changes that women can do to support their skin changes during this time. Also, using more body products. A lot of women are less comfortable or maybe less invested in using body care. And then in menopause, a lot of women experience itching, whole body irritation, dryness. So really capitalizing on nighttime, investing in some better barrier for body, some more calming ingredients, oatmeal, things like that. And then from the inside out, I would say. So investigate your hormones. If that's something, you know, even if you feel fine, just scheduling a consult with a hormone doctor or naturopathic doctor, just to make sure that you are fully optimized, because there's women who will be like, I'm totally fine. And they have, you know, they're fully in menopause and they've just been like trucking through, and they didn't realize that just with a little bit of extra hormones or even an SSRI or even nothing and just some extra social support, that they can really really support themselves a lot better, that they didn't even know what was going on with their body.
I really
I
like
love
what
that
you
skin
said.
journey.
Right. And what you
Yes.
said, as long as you identify what's going on, you change your skincare regimen. So you feel a lot better. Walk around and reduce the amount of stress. Many different things that we can do once we identify, okay, there is change going on. Now we have to change the way we act every day.
Embracing the change too.
Embracing it.
Yes.
I always tell my nurses, like, we have to reframe menopause, because
Yes.
society is like, oh, you're going downhill, you're all these things that we this negatively associate with aging. And I think if we really empower our patients to reframe that this is your time, this is a new transition in your life. For that woman that's going through a divorce, what comes next for you? What's exciting about this new freedom? Or maybe it's a lot of women start businesses over the age of 45. A lot of women experience new relationships or traveling for the first time because their kids have moved out. So I just really try to help our nurses understand that this is a time to reframe, especially around that whole women that don't get a lot of time for themselves. This can actually be an opportunity.
So are we addressing this with perimenopause also? So we're getting more and more women understanding there's a change when they're younger.
I love this shift. I mean, I think it's really because the millennials are now in peri and menopause.
Yes, they are.
And millennials are the ones
I know.
online. Yeah. We're
It
the
comes
ones
up on my Instagram feed now all the time. Like, why are you popping up now?
Well, we have more studies that have shown that women can enter perimenopause as early as like their mid 30s.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go into menopause, the symptoms can sort of start with like in 10 years before you go into menopause. And depending on when you start, it might be in your mid, 30s. And some women that get premature ovarian failure, they might already be experiencing this in their 30s, and they don't know until they try to get pregnant and they can't, and they go through fertility treatments that they're already in premature ovarian failure. So this is also something I advocate for women to be on top of their fertility. Like even if you're in your mid to late 20s and you're not exactly sure what your family plan is, or you don't have kids yet, go get your AMH tested. Go talk to a fertility doctor, have a consult, and ask them about what are my options for egg freezing if this is something that I wanted to do. So I always talk about fertility and then menopause, because I just think these things happen without us even being proactive. And then once we finally figure out, oh, maybe something is wrong, it might be too late.
That's great advice. That's honestly fantastic advice. And I think that's something that we need to think about as a society and getting ready. And I do think there is a shift where I'm seeing a lot of younger women being more aware, and men too, but being more aware. And I think they're taking more charge, because I mean, even things like we talked about, now I'm doing a lot more scrubbing of my skin, I'm thinking of all the stuff I need to quote unquote fix as I'm getting older that I wish I did younger. And I think that my advice now is tell women, especially, to start doing things younger, be more aware of things younger. Another thing that you do as part of your Medi Spas, a big part of it, is regenerative aesthetics. For our audience, could you kind of define what regenerative aesthetics is and how it looks in your practice?
Absolutely. I would love for everyone to have an understanding of regenerative aesthetics, because it's really a gift that technology has given us in this time. The way that we've almost always traditionally thought about cosmetics and aesthetics is, hey, I'm going to inject, say, filler, because as we age, we lose facial volume, so we just replace it. So that's the old paradigm. We just replace what's lost. The new paradigm is about using our actual bodies and the natural processes of what it already wants to do and already knows how to do, and just supporting that. So an example of that would even be when we use Sculptra to stimulate our body's own collagen. We are not injecting anything that's necessarily foreign, but we're just injecting something that will help stimulate. Other ingredients like growth factors are an amazing example of regenerative medicine, because your body, in response to being cut, for example, if I were to break in my new shoes and I get blisters, my body's response to that is to naturally lay down collagen. One of the signals in how it does that is that the platelets and other macrophages and other cells, they secrete growth factors, and this helps stimulate those fibroblasts to lay down new collagen. Now, if we do lasers in the clinic, say we do a CO2 laser, we're sort of stimulating a similar response as to if we cut ourselves. It's a controlled trauma, so we know predictably how our body is going to secrete those growth factors. There's going to be macrophages and those repair cells coming to fix, plug in that hole, lay down some fibrin, trigger those fibroblasts to lay down new collagen. We've been doing lasers for a while. When we do lasers, now we have more regenerative ingredients that we can actually lay on top that mimic our own body's, say, growth factors, and will give extra signal for us to lay down even more collagen. So in our practice, and in a lot of, practices nowadays, we have, even if we have the same treatment menu that we had maybe 5 years ago, we now have even better ingredients that we're using in conjunction that can just, and there's a lot of studies around how it gives, up to a 30% improved outcome. The healing time can be reduced as much as half. So if you can imagine when we used to do those lasers where we'd have to be out for a week or two, now we're only going to have to be out for like 3 to 5 days at most, which is what that does for our productivity, us being able to get back to work and things like that. So, for most practices, it looks like a menu that has growth factors post-procedure. I mean, there's also PDRN, which is a huge one, salmon sperm. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit, yes. We have a little idea about it, yes.
Yeah, that's an example of a regenerative ingredient. And then, we're using a lot of regenerative ingredients as well to inject. So peptides, glutathione, things like that. We're getting a lot of technology from Asia and sort of learning how they're using it, and it's being studied. So I recommend for nurses and consumers to just do your research. Like, what papers are there? If your nurse is offering it to you, ask, like, what data is this based on? Is it like, why did you buy this product? Because a lot of it is hype. So, look into where they're sourcing the actual regenerative ingredient. Is it pharmacological grade? Is it medical grade? That's what I always encourage my nurses to do out there, because there's just so many products out there. You don't know where they come from.
And the quality and the grade matters. It really does.
It does. It could be mostly chemicals.
Yeah.
So the key word is regenerative is growth factors. We're really looking more or less for controlling the growth factors and speeding up the healing process.
It can be growth factors. It can be salmon sperm, PDRN. It can actually
Keep talking, Dr. C. Keep talking.
Yeah, PDRN's a favorite of ours.
Yes.
It's anything that fits into your natural pathway and already has, like, NAD is technically, like, people do the NAD shots, the NAD precursor supplements. That all supports your cellular metabolism, so that is all regenerative. But for the most part, for topicals, I really like growth factors and PDRN. And then for injectables in the clinic, you can do PRP. That's regenerative medicine, because you're taking your own plasma and growth factors, spinning it down, putting it on your face in conjunction with doing microneedling or even injecting it. So all of that is, you're basically boosting your own body's own healing.
I have a question on the weight loss, Ozempic, and you mentioned body, and I have to say there's such a transformation with this Ozempic and the generic forms of Ozempic, and the body also, the skin has to be also addressed, the body, and it's important with all this weight loss. The Medi-spas are definitely opening up to more of the weight loss and weight control, which is very beneficial. I think that helps all of us. Preventative is where we're going for. And what do you suggest as far as body treatments when they're losing all this weight loss? How would you incorporate it in a Medi-spa?
Oh my gosh, this is such a great question, because I have a lot of patients that started GLP and they're excited about the weight loss, but then you get skin sagging, your face gets thinner. So you really want to focus on doing things preemptively. Don't wait until you've lost the weight. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, because why would I already be chasing something if it's not lost already? When we go see a provider because we're thinned or we have saggy skin, we've already lost a lot of collagen. And we've already lost a lot of those fibroblasts that we could have sent the signal to lay down more collagen. So I was just at MCAS in Paris in February, and they really drove this point home, is that right when you start a patient on Ozempic, that's when you need to start all the treatments, because we still have those fat cells as well that are signaling estrogen, that are helping with fat. So we really want to capitalize then. And then what you want to do is focus on collagen producing procedures. So things like microneedling RF. They even have machines that have laser with muscle stimulation. So those can also help a lot.
Oh, okay.
And things with, Sculptra, Radiesse, those are fillers that actually promote collagen rather than just filling. So if you have any neck crepiness, especially following, like if you lose a lot of mass in your face, like your jowling, that's a really big one. You can do Radiesse. And I would always recommend doing Radiesse or Sculptra over just a regular hyaluronic acid filler for that, because one, it's going to last longer, and two, you're going to stimulate your own collagen, which is what you really, really need.
What you're saying is that we can rebuild, and you're giving us the opportunity to learn how to rebuild. And that's really important. And with all the Ozempic, we're finding people are coming after. So what you said is really key. Start the correction as soon as you start taking the medication, because you want to keep that skin going. And if it's, all of a sudden you lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, it's really hard to rebuild it up again, because you've lost that key opportunity right there.
It is really hard. And so as providers, we're kind of just we're working against the current. So
I was just going to say, getting the information out. If you're going to go in for weight loss, remember that when you're going in, the treatments matter at the same time, because you're dealing with topically how your face looks, how your body looks, so we can deal with it both ways. So they go hand in hand.
And don't neglect your diet and exercise. Even though you're easily losing weight, your body is going to need protein. So those protein shakes, high protein meals every time you eat. And if you are finding, that you're losing weight too fast, I'd say more than 2 pounds a week, slow it down. Take a break. There's no rush. The slower that you lose weight, the more that you're able to sort of meet your lifestyle to keep your face intact, your skin intact, your hair loss from being too dramatic, because hair loss is another big concern with the GLPs. So it's not a race. The slower you do it, the better, less side effects you're going to have.
These are things that people don't think about, and it's an important part of it.
It's not a race. I love what you said there, because you want it quick, but when it's too quick, you're not going to get all the results that you want.
Not a race.
Yes. And I was on GLPs for a little while. I still use them occasionally, but I had to actually stop because I was getting my hair was really thin. My face started jowling a lot, and I didn't think that it would happen, because I was not losing a ton of weight, but it's proportionate. So if you do lose, 5% of your weight, and then, you may carry that in your face, I was like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this. So I actually gained it back.
It's all about doing it healthy, being very healthy, and just looking at your body and seeing how your body works, because we're not all the same. That's the other thing, too.
We're
and
not.
I think that's important that people forget. It's not just, we're not cookie cutters.
No, everyone's body is different.
Yeah.
And like maybe your friend didn't get any jowling or sagginess or hair loss, but you might actually have it really dramatically even within a month.
Wow.
That's huge.
It's not a race. It's not a race, guys. It's not a race.
No. And, that is something to think about when it comes to finding the right aesthetics practice. Again, finding the right people to work with is so important. And we're actually really also in a very interesting point right now when it comes to also businesses. And I know that's important is for you also is helping people build businesses. But we're also building brands. So what's your advice to a business owner who's not just working on starting their business, but also building their brand?
Building something that people can trust. Number one is trust. I think with social media and just our dopamine enhanced culture of everything now, becoming a person who can follow through when they say they're going to do something, not overpromise. So under promise, over deliver. And at every touch point, your patient or your client or your customer has a good experience with your brand, either with people you work with, events that you host, messages that they send you. I think that is the core of a really good brand, regardless of what your colors, your font, your office space, forget all of that. The core is like, does your customer trust you? And then the second of that would be, what do you provide other than your services? So when I'm launching a nurse in a medical spa, most of them come to me and they say, Doc, can you help me open my spa and be my medical director? I have a big space out in LA. I, put $200,000 into a renovation. I need to build out my menu and create a spa. And I say, okay, great. Have you done any beauty services yourself? Oh no, I've never gotten Botox. Okay, I want you to go and get a treatment and tell me how you feel afterwards. And so they do, and like, well, I liked it, but okay, get some more treatments, go back. How did they make you feel? Well, I don't really know. And we kind of go through this process of, well, how do you want your customers to leave you after you've treated them? And once we find out from them, it can take a little while, but once we find that, I say that is going to be part of your brand, right? Maybe you make them feel seen, empowered, heard. And also, what in the medical spa space are you doing that's different from all of the spas down the street? So I spend time working with them to kind of dig that out. A lot of us don't know maybe our own story and why we're creating the brand. We just know we want to. So for example, I have a nurse that I helped launch, and she brought a lot of techniques from Asia, how to inject. And I knew this about her because I worked with her for a long time. And I said, on your menu, are you going to talk about feng shui of the face? Because I know that's something that you learned that you apply with your injections. And she said, well, I hadn't really thought about that. And I said, can you imagine?
Feng shui? Did you say feng shui of the face?
Yes. Yes.
I've heard of feng shui and how you put things around, but not of the face.
Yes. So this is a technique that she learned in Asia about symmetry, harmonization. Because sometimes we can't even see our value, we have to have someone else sort of say, I see this being a place in the market. And so that's why I think it's important to work with a consultant or someone who will help you put together a picture and a story of who you are, who knows you, and who you are in the space. Because there's so many med spas right now that your brand really needs to tell a story. It needs to be personal about who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, how patients feel after they leave you, and then how is this communicated? Are you posting videos about this? Are your patients are you creating an experience for them from the time they walk into the door, from the time that they leave? And are you getting feedback on if you're hitting the mark? Are they feeling cared for? Are they feeling seen? So I would say these are the three main ways to create a brand and not just a spa.
I love that, because the whole thing is right now is we're talking about how it's such a viral society. And so people are looking online. It's like, oh, who's somebody who's gone viral? And you're almost getting a personality, but this is different. This is the idea of, like you said, trust, number one.
Trust.
I love that. And I think that's so incredibly important to be able to find that person that you trust. Something else that you also do is you help, obviously you talk about also embodying women. You have an amazing event called Embody Her. And how has it helped women within this industry?
Thanks for bringing that up. Embody Her it's collectively myself and my co-founder for our events. It was our 7th event together, or collectively. I think we've done 4 together. And we kind of set out 3 years ago saying there's conversations we're having with all of our clients. She's a therapist. We're having conversations with our patients and with other practitioners that we help them set up their businesses. And it's kind of the same conversations over and over again about mindset, balance, health, doing it all as a woman. Why don't we throw a conference and bring everyone together to have these bigger conversations? So that's where it started. And it slowly evolved to be more health and wellness, because a lot of women wanted to learn more about clean products, clean environment, how that affects their hormones. And so our latest event was in May, and it was in Irvine, in Orange County, here by where I live. And we had panelists that talked about clean beauty, their own health struggles. They also talked about balancing all as a woman. Is that even possible? And we had vendors that in skincare, in alcohol-free living. We had a lot of non-alcoholic brands there because I think that's a big part of wellness and medical spa. And we had one of my med spas was there. We had red light therapy. So we had a lot of activations. And I really believe that events play a critical role in community building. And I think community building is a huge part of my brand, not because it's glamorous, but it's just always been there. It's been in the Botox parties that I had. It's been in the family medicine clinic that we would have group visits. I just think it's wildly therapeutic. Women just open up in a way that they really don't one-on-one. They forge connections. And ever since we've been doing it, there's women that they came to our first event and they were depressed and sad and they didn't know what they were going to do with their life. And subsequently through each event, they've built this wonderful community where they've been able to push the limits, go to therapy, start a business, go travel. I think that community is just, there's so much you can do as a brand, and then there's just what you provide and like the space that you cultivate sometimes.
You know, that's a beautiful thing, because 30 and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, this is where we were talking about hormones, and we cannot understand usually what's happening to us at that time. So by you enlightening people to understand what's happening makes it a lot easier for all of them. All women need to understand there are things going on internally, and we can see it on your skin, but we could understand it. So now we could work with you internally and externally, both ways, so we can actually address the issues that are bothering you.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yes.
And it's called Embody Her.
Yes, it was called Embody Her. We have a different title every event. So we
okay,
definitely,
cool.
I know we're going to have a different title for our next event in May 2026. We'll always do May, but follow me, join my email listserv to be sure you get all the updates for the upcoming events. But yeah, I think talking about your health honestly to your friends and in a good community will help you almost as much as going to the doctors. Yes, going to the doctors is important, but one of the biggest points that I drive home with people is that you need almost like a board of advisors for your health. You need different doctors. You need different types of practitioners. Just like when you're taking care of your skin, you need your esthetician, your injector, your dermatologist, your hormone doctor. So create your own board of advisors, and anything that you're worried about that's not normal, or even if it is normal, make sure you're talking about that.
I love that.
We always tell people, if you're not sure, ask for a second opinion. And this is what
my
you're doing.
gosh.
Go find the
Yes.
right opinion, find out what's going on, empower yourself
Yep.
as you embody her. I love that.
It's inspirational. You know, you're giving back. You're giving back to your community. You're embracing people that would not necessarily know where to go. So giving back and inspiring women and men, actually, but just inspiring us as a whole, that's really important. You know, giving back.
I love it. You're advocating for yourself, but I like the idea of you're building a board for yourself. You're that important, so make sure you build that board for yourself.
So cool.
Dr. C, you have been so fantastic, such great information. First off, I know you talked about the importance of finding a consultant, and that's something you do. Where can people find you if they are interested in consulting?
You can actually book a discovery call with me where we can just meet each other, and I can tell you if we would be the right fit, or I love to point people in the right direction if I think they would be better served somewhere else. I get people who, they're nurses and they're like, I want to start a spa. I don't know if I should move to California or not. Like, I field all types of questions. So book a call with me at www.drchantallunderville.com, and there's a link there to just book your call. I also have a ton of digital products for you to learn how to open a medical spa. There's a compliance webinar on there talking a lot more about that corporate structure I talked about. There's even my formula for how to throw the best Botox party, how I built my company. So I don't gatekeep. I try to share everything because there's no playbook for this stuff. It's just learn from experience. So book a call with me. That would be the best way.
Share the information. That's important. You could also get more information from Dr. C's amazing podcast, Spilling the Medical Tea with Dr. C. And we love the podcast world, and that's why we're so excited to have you joining us on our podcast here on A Skin Depth Convo. And you have an incredible podcast, a lot of great information because you have a great background in this and you have done so well with your career. So we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, ladies, for helping women everywhere with their skin and their bodies.
Thank you, Dr. C.
Thank you, Dr. C.
And then also give us a little shout out also to your social media handles. Where can we find you?
They are all at Dr. Chantal Lunderville, just my name. That's the same handle you'll find for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And all of those are kept up to date. They all have a little bit of a different flair. LinkedIn has a ton of compliance info, and YouTube has a lot of short form YouTube videos about how I started my medical spa, being a medical director. So you can do a lot more deep dive there. Instagram has a lot of short educational videos, and TikTok is kind of similar, actually kind of similar to Instagram, like the short form video. So it's a beast, but I try to give people a little bit more of what they want on each platform just to try to help.
Perfect. Metaxia will find you on TikTok. I'll go the other way.
Exactly. Something for everybody.
Exactly. She's our TikTok queen. Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. C. You have been absolutely amazing. We appreciate having you on the show today.
Thank you. Take care, ladies.
And that will do it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to Skin Depth Convo on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can watch the show on Spotify itself and also on Lyra Clinical's YouTube page at Lyra Clinical. And make sure to follow Skin Depth Convo on any of our social media channels. You can find us everywhere. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. Just go to @SkinDepthConvo. And if you have any questions for Francine and Metaxia, send us an email at info@skindepthconvo.com. That's info@skindepthconvo.com. Thank you all for joining us today, and a big thank you to Dr. C for all the incredible information. We had such a great time. Thank you for all of us here at A Skin Depth Convo. I'm Anna Kagarakis, and we'll talk soon.
This podcast is brought to you by Lyra Clinical and the award-winning Mystique Illuminating Beauty Oil. Mystique Beauty Oil's amazing skin-friendly hydration delivers potent antioxidants and anti-inflammatories with Lyra Clinical's exclusive Mass Tech brightening technology. This luxury oil blend is infused with vitamin C for a clean, dry finish on the skin. Use by itself or add to your favorite hydrator. Beauty oil delivers your glow and go look. Contact your local Lyra retailer for additional information at lyraclinical.com.